instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
And we're in the future.
Because last time the audio got messed up.
We lost the beginning of the audio of last week's show, so we're re-recording it now, and we're not even going to lie about it. This is from the future, but now we're going to go to the past so we can pick up the show currently in progress. So not that I'm big on talking about, cultural events or anything, but the whole, do you have any thoughts on the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing for talking about his wife?
So I realized that a couple weeks ago I talked about being on edge and wanting to punch people in the face. Mm-hmm. And I'm a firm believer that there are times where people deserve a punch in the face. That didn't seem like one of those times where the guy deserved a punch in the face or a slap in the face even.
Yeah.
That's assault and battery.
Right.
So if Will Smith is okay with being charged with assault and battery to stand up for that point, if that's his decision to make, then that's fine, but there's consequences. Except apparently if you're Will Smith, then there are no consequences.
Well, I mean, yeah, if someone is willing to take, to press charges, there are consequences.
But he's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's on TV. He's being addressed, or his wife is being addressed by a comedian. It's a stupid situation. A comedian should be held accountable for their words and not just go well, it was a joke. I think that that's a cop-out. Yes, people should be able to point lights on things to raise awareness and to create satire when things are uncomfortable. I get that. But everybody should be held accountable for their words and their actions. And if it bothered her that bad, then she needed to bring it up in a way that made him accountable. And Will Smith should be held accountable for actually breaking the law.
I guess the question that I've been hearing a lot is aimed at, I agree that the offense was not worthy of physical anything. I mean, people say nasty things all the time, and that doesn't mean you should be able to physically attack somebody. But I think the bigger question is, does it make sense now for a man to physically stand up for his wife? And I will say, I'm old school, whatever. Yes, if my wife is in danger in any way whatsoever, or I feel that she's threatened, not because I think she would be incapable, but I would jump in front of a bus for her. I would take whatever action I thought I needed to take to make sure that she is unharmed. Even though she can beat me up, I mean, it's not like I feel like I'm stronger, so I'm going to jump in the way of the thing. It's just, you protect the things that you love. You want them to exist. You want them to be okay. So I guess the tone of the world right now is that, well, she doesn't need you to jump in front of a thing. She doesn't need you to slap. If she cared that much, she could slap herself. She could do it herself. And I guess that's the truth. Does that make it bad for someone to want to stand up for somebody that they care about?
I don't think so. I saw some feedback on Twitter from a bunch of different people. It was praising Will Smith for being able to stand up for his wife in such a way. Then there were some people that were like, if it bothered her, she had the power to take that on. She didn't need him to do this. So it's split, right?
And I guess those are both true.
Fact. But it would depend on the situation. And I was in a situation. Man, have I talked about Tiff punching a guy in the face?
You've told me about it.
Oh, when the world's going to know now. So when I was in the Army, this was in 2010, 9 or 10, we went to Oktoberfest in Munich. And in the tents where people drink and have a good time, there's thousands of people in these tents. It's super packed. We had a couple drinks, and we were leaving, and there's all these friendly people. And I'm just trying to push my way through this crowd, and Tiff is right behind me. And I'm bigger than she is. And exactly that same thing. I'm going to protect my wife in this crowd of people. And so we're just pushing through, and this guy, we were standing around. I think we got stopped, and she started talking to people, as she just is a chatty person, about where we lived. And he was like, oh, I am from there also. And he's a French guy, and just the cultural differences between Americans' physical bubble and Europeans is dramatically different. And so he was just like, oh, this is cool, and wanted to just hug and this friendly, we know the same place kind of thing. And I recognized that the person was not an actual threat. He was just an overly, I would say friendly, which sounds like it is downgrading the situation, which I don't mean to, but he posed no threat.
Yeah. Right.
No assault threat, none of that stuff. And I recognized that, and I just wanted to go. And so she was like, get out of my face. like waving her hand, and he was like, "Oh no, it's okay," and like he was trying to tell her that he was not being a threat, and he didn't back up, so she punched him in his face. In this huge crowd of people, this French guy, and he like covered up his face and started crying and ran off. And I remember looking at her, I was like, part of me was like, holy crap, that was awesome. Like, she can absolutely throw a haymaker at this person if she needed to. But then I went, everybody here is having a great time, and you're the American who's over here just punching people. But she was like, I felt threatened.
Yeah.
And her perception of the thing, and then my perception of the thing are completely different because I was not that person. I'm not a woman. I'm not up against some man in a crowd of people. I understand that the conditions are completely different, but she absolutely stood up for herself.
Yeah.
And I was amazingly proud of her. After I kind of gave her some crap about punching the French guy in the face and making him cry. But like, I'm increasingly impressed by her. But if that moment dictated, like, I would love to punch someone in the face. It feels pretty good. That sounds really bad. But like in that moment, if it needed to, I would have absolutely started beating on somebody because I was in that context, right? I was in the Army. I had just come from some training where we were fighting and where we were doing combatives. And so it was ingrained in me to neutralize a threat, whatever it happened to be. That was my go-to, not to talk it out, not to figure out the options. But in that moment, I went, that's absolutely not a threat, and continued on, where she felt differently. But I would absolutely stood up for her in any way.
Yeah.
More than anybody else, while she is completely capable of doing so. Because
and that's that's the thing that I'm trying to get to is not just because you stand up for someone doesn't make them incapable of doing it themselves. But this is my last word on the topic because it's been floating around a lot lately. My wife and I are one person. Okay. We were married. We are one thing now. And I have self-preservation. If someone attacks me or hurts me, then I have response to that. I will defend myself. I will flee. I will whatever that response is. And in my mind, she is part of me. And so all of those tendencies that I would have towards self-preservation go to her. And I would assume that they come the other direction as well. If she saw me in danger, she would step in and she would do something about it. Not because she thought I was incapable, but that's just part of what we do. And so I guess the thing that caught me off guard is that people are overshadowing the fact that those two people, however public, however dumb the situation, whatever, those two people have a life together. And I think a lot of people were treating the situation as, the man's just trying to be tough and stand up for whatever, even though he doesn't have to. But I think they're missing the point that, like, a married couple, one of them felt the couple being attacked. And I think he did it wrong, but he stood up for the couple. So
I think that's part of, those two particular people being the married couple, I think that's also the thing.
Absolutely.
There's whatever drama and whatever. I honestly think if you were to step in, if Jenny needed to fight somebody and you fought instead of her, I think she would be upset with you that she didn't get to fight somebody.
She would, yeah.
She'd
like
tracked
hip
for me.
check me and get me out of the way.
This is my fight.
So anybody that doesn't know, my wife played roller derby for many years, and she can move anyone. If there's someone in the way, she can move them out of the way. No problem whatsoever. So anyway, let's move on to something happier.
Yeah.
What are you working on, by the way? We haven't even
I started the 3-in-1 Lego Castle set. Woo-hoo. The creator set. It's just called Medieval Castle. Somebody on Instagram asked me the other day what my favorite Lego set, past, present, was.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've probably talked about that.
I don't know if we have or not.
I don't know. I gave some answers. I remember, it's been replaced over the years.
Yeah, that happens.
The newest one was the Lego Space Shuttle, which was fantastic. Before that was the Lego Ideas Wall-E. And before that, the one I still have a spot in my heart was the King's Castle.
Yeah.
That is just like the square. It has all 4 walls.
The gray one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I was putting together this little minifig here. It's just a little knight with this little brown little Lego bow that they can't really hold or draw back.
Yeah.
Like, this and like the Robin Hood ones, like these are the Legos from my childhood. So that strikes a chord with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that Robin Hood one, the little forest, what was it called?
I don't remember.
It was like a hideaway or something.
Yeah, it had the horses and it had a little buggy.
And it was
you
like,
could, like, put
it was
a guy
a
in it?
tree with a building kind of off the side of it, and you would open it up, and I had that one. I never had any of the pirate ones growing up.
No, I didn't
had
have
the-
pirates. I had knights.
Just the knight stuff.
I've never got. Have we ranted about pirates before?
I think you have. But it's
Okay.
probably been a couple of years, so feel free to rant away.
I think pirates are stupid. I think the lure behind pirates and the just overall infatuation with pirate stuff is stupid. But that's just me.
You also think grass is stupid.
I do. Well, I mean, not as an organism, but I think people's infatuation with grass is stupid.
Not as an organism.
I mean, I don't want grass to go extinct or anything, but I also don't understand why people put so much effort into just a piece of agriculture that yields no nutritional value.
A lettuce has no nutritional value, does it?
I don't know.
I don't think it does. Yeah, everybody should just cover
But you
their
can
front
eat
yards.
lettuce. Like,
yeah, but it doesn't do
it can
anything for
sustain
you.
you.
It gives you water.
I don't know. I mean, I'm no nutritionalist. So, listener, if you are a nutritionalist,
Lettuceologist.
let us know.
Yeah, that was
You
terrible.
can kill us on the phone.
Oh, that's okay. Anyway,
Cabbage.
I'm working on cabbage. I'm working on the Vespa set. So, anybody watching? Check this
That's
out.
a good looking set.
Oh, there's camera one. Yeah, the Vespa 125, which is cool because I own a Vespa 125. It's a V&B.
What that means?
V&B is like the model number. There was a VNA and a V&B, and the V&B is a 125cc motor. So I don't know if this is actually
Captain
if there was,
Crunches?
I don't know if there was an
125?
actual model called the 125. I don't think there was. I used to know a whole lot about Vespas because
So, show the box real quick. So, looking at the box,
yeah.
the anatomy of a Vespa. I've driven a Vespa one time.
Okay.
The big, like, tire-looking thing underneath the steering wheel, is that a spare tire?
It is a spare tire.
It looks like that would be very uncomfortable for your legs.
No, your knees don't really hit it.
Okay.
And your feet are spread on the outside of that center channel. So, but not all of them have one there.
And does the boot open to, like, put the helmet and stuff and your baguette in there?
So on a lot of them, not on all of them. Can you get that in frame? I can't see it.
You hit yourself in the face with the box.
Okay, right here. So we'll do a little lesson. This side right here, the engine is under this side.
So it's beside,
it only
on
opens
the
on
right
one
side
side.
of the rear wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That whole cowl is an engine cover that comes off, so you can get to the engine right
Got
behind
it.
that. On the other side, that same shape is an open cavity with a back wall, and it has a little door on it, so you can open it up and keep stuff down in there, like baguettes. Although
is
it'd
there
have to be a short baguette. So
Is there a
maybe
transmission?
you could fit a lot of croissants in that side.
Croissant?
Croissants.
What?
There is a transmission. It's 3-speed.
Your hand went up by like the handlebars, and I was like, "What?" Okay.
Yeah. So you shift. The clutch is this over here.
That's standard on motorcycles. Clutch is on the
clutch
left.
is on your left, and you
front brake
rotate
rear.
the. So you have throttle, but then you also rotate the entire assembly to switch gears.
Oh, it's not a foot pedal.
No, the only foot is the brake. So this little pedal down here is the rear brake, and then the front brake is the other.
It was on the right.
The bicycle
Yeah.
grip pull thing, whatever you call it.
So it's a road. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
and then the seat. Sorry, can you follow this? The seat flips up. Like in this case, this has a short seat and then a little.
It's got a little
deal
picnic
on the
basket
back.
on the back.
But mine has a long seat, so you can sit 2 people on it. It hinges off the front, and the gas tank is right there. So you have to lift the seat up to put gas in it. So.
A friend of mine, when we lived in Belgium, had a Vespa, a newer one, and we worked on a really small little air base, and so we would take the Vespa to like go to the store back and forth. We'd use it like a golf cart type situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Was it a kickstart?
no, it was a push button start. It was a newer one, and so I would just wear my flight helmet and drive down the road with my Vespa. And he was like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, why?" He's like, "That's not DOT approved." I'm like, "Well, I'm not in America."
Yeah, there's no DOT
Yeah, I don't-
in whatever
yeah.
this country is.
Whatever.
That's funny.
Which I really liked. And so I was like, hey, maybe a motorcycle could be a thing. And then that's barely a motorcycle, but it was fun.
It's a very different feeling to ride a motorcycle and a scooter, in my opinion. I know other people may think that they're very similar. But the fact that on a motorcycle, the fact that you are straddling the thing, your legs are split around the thing, to me, feels so uncomfortable because if I need to get off of it, it feels like it would be harder to let go of the thing and let it go out from under you. And I've laid the Vespa down twice. So you can, your legs swing through the middle, so you can step off either side without having to go over the bike. Right. Or you can just spread your legs and jump, and the thing will go out from underneath you, straight forward, which I guess would work on a motorcycle. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of motorcycles. Not really interested, even though I have one to restore someday. I don't think I'll actually drive it.
My motorcycle is still in my garage, collecting dust, getting in the way. It was a mouse lived under it for the winter until the mouse got caught in a little sticky trap. Oh. But I am waiting to borrow the trailer so I could take it to the junkyard.
Oh, wow.
Yep, it doesn't work. It doesn't run. I can't sell it because it has no title. And in Kentucky, to be able to get a rebuilt title, it has to go into the wrecker system, and then I have to take it and buy it back from the wrecker and then fill out some more paperwork about all the work that I've done to it, and then possibly get it titled after that, and then it's a wreck title or a rebuilt title.
Have you looked at surrounding states to see if getting a title at a surrounding state would be easier and then getting a transfer title into?
I have not.
That might be an option.
Maybe.
Because I think we've talked about this before, but I know there are some states like Maine where you can walk in with a vehicle and be like, I'd like a title for this vehicle. And they're like, okay, the end. They don't ask any questions. They don't ask you your name. I'm sure they ask you your name. You can get a title, which is why apparently a lot of people take stolen cars and trailers and things like that to Maine and get them titled. So if you buy a vehicle that has a Maine title, you might want to check it out a little bit. But my point being, every state has different titling rules. So you may be able to find one of the surrounding states that may make it easier to get a title and then transfer it into the state. If you're, I know you're kind of over it. I know you don't really want to do anything.
It was a project, and I'm kind of done with it. I'm over it.
Yeah, mine would have to get a title as well because it's in pieces. But it's also, I think it's a 100cc. I don't remember.
Oh, so it may not need one.
It may not need one. Yeah, it may not need but that's again state to state. I can get away with my Vespa not having to have a title, even though it does have one, because it is under 150cc. Well, that was the Georgia rule. I don't know what the Kentucky rule is.
Well, like the electric moped from Onyx that I was looking into, Kentucky has rules for mopeds, and it has to be under a certain electric mopeds specifically under a certain speed and under a certain wattage. Has to have pedals, and even then, you still have to get a license to drive it. So it's not
a motorcycle license.
Yeah, and I would have to register it as a moped. But that one, the Onyx that I wanted, has like a bypass button. So it's like 32, I think, miles an hour is the top. But then you can bypass that and go up to 60. So use at your own risk, I imagine. Legit. But this is America. Tell me how fast I can drive.
Cool. So last week we talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and today they announced that they're moving the release date 3 days, so not far, but they're releasing the first 2 episodes at the same time. So I was curious what you think about Kenobi. For one, whether you even care, is that a character that you're even remotely interested in seeing a show about, and not because of that, but what do you expect the show to be? What's the style? What do you expect out of it? What do you hope to get out of it? That kind of stuff.
So I know that you really like Obi-Wan, but then you have been very vocal about being annoyed with the Star Wars universe about not telling a new story.
Yes.
So with Obi-Wan, I fall in that camp. That it's additional filler.
It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
He's still going to kill Darth Maul. Whether or not that happens, I would like to see that. If that doesn't happen, then he's just on a planet looking after somebody in the distance while other stuff goes on. And so it'll fill out ancillary characters. But again, it's already happened in the past. I hope it's not the solo type adventure where it's here's additional content that you didn't really ask for.
It doesn't change
and it's going to be oh, that's the thing I saw that one time, do the thing. Yeah. So it's nothing new. So my excitement level isn't really high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to see Obi-Wan again, but I mean, he was the Obi-Wan from the prequels, so I really wasn't that infatuated with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan to begin with. I thought Alec Guinness did it better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sure, it's Star Wars stuff. I like Star Wars. I'm going to watch it, but I have no expectations. I'm not as eager to watch it because I know it's just filler stuff. They're going to jam it into a crack in a storyline that didn't really need additional content.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I'm sure it's going to be well done, but it's not going to change anything long term. Even if it does, I think it will change something. I don't know what. But I think the fact that they're bringing Darth Vader, there's always been an assumption that Obi-Wan and Darth Vader did not see each other, did not interact, did not even know that, that Obi-Wan existed in between Episode 3 and the fight on the Death Star. Well, now that's not going to be the truth, probably.
Sure.
So that's kind of interesting, but that's more of a writing challenge. That's not even like...
Yeah, it's all book stuff.
Well, I mean, from like a screenwriting, like how do we make that work? It's not that it's that interesting to the story. It's not going to change anything about the characters that much. It's just, I'm curious to see how they wrote that in to get those two people on screen together again. And so that feels a little weird,
They're just like, at Space Walmart.
Hey, is that?
And he's like, wait a minute.
Oh, that couldn't have been.
Oh, crap, I got to go down a different aisle. And he like skips over a couple aisles. And he's like, you! And they're going to fight over some Triscuits.
Totally.
Space Triscuits.
So
like when I played Vader Immortal,
Yeah.
the game itself, like being one of the first like VR experiences, it's Star Wars universe. The mechanics are really awesome. And the whole thing was like, you get to fight Darth Vader. I'm like, oh, great. Is this where I kill him?
Yeah, right.
No. Like,
That's a
I'm
good
going to
point.
best Darth Vader, stab him in his eyeballs.
I might survive.
And
That's
then
the
he's
game.
going to magically come back and get himself a new helmet and carry on with the movies as it was. That's that ugly old man. I created that in the VR game because I'm part of the universe. Like, that's not how that works. It's just so. But even then, they tried to they successfully like shoehorned additional stuff that was in like a few shots of another movie. You're like, ha ha ha. It allowed me to have deep cut knowledge that other people didn't have, which is part of the Star Wars universe. That like the more tiny little nuggets of information you're a better Star Warser than anybody else is. So I knew that like Mustafar, the planet, the lava planet, used to be a lush place. And so when Kylo Ren fought a guy in 2 frames of the newest movie, like, oh, that was Mustafar because I played the game. And then Darth Vader is like talking about or to Padme, and he almost brings her back to life in the game, but then he doesn't. And it's like, oh, that would have been neat, but nothing happened.
Yeah, but oh well.
So like, it was entertaining, but it didn't add anything. I'm not better. The story is not more round. The characters are not more round. I mean, your character could be, I suppose, but like, there's no conflict in the later movies for Obi-Wan to explore. There's inconsistencies in the story that when he's talking to Luke, and he's like, I knew your father. I knew you this. Like, oh, you didn't mention that, like, you about murdered him on the side of a lava thing. You just, like, forgot to mention that because at the time it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so if this is some way to, like, add his story to connect the storylines and so that they can go, see, it does make sense. That's not supplemental content.
I don't think that's going to be the case. What I think they're going to do is, because they're leaning so heavily on the Inquisitors, so anybody that doesn't know, the Inquisitors in the show are characters that were created in the last few years, I think mostly for Rebels, for the cartoon Rebels. And then they were in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, which was very good. And it was another, like, here's a separate story that happened at the same time as all this other stuff and, it's separate, but still happening like at the same in parallel. So I think that they're going to lean real heavily on the fact that to protect Luke, while Luke was growing up, there was a threat that we never heard about, and it was these Inquisitors who just go around and try to find all the leftover Jedi who are still out there and wipe them out.
Yep.
And so what I think is going to happen is, in trying to protect Luke, he's going to kind of accidentally give himself away, or he's going to try to find other Jedi or something like that, and then give himself away, and then he starts getting chased. So then he has to leave the planet to draw attention away from Luke.
But somebody's going to have to look over Luke, so he's going to have an accomplice.
Maybe, yeah. So, and then I think he'll go around and end up having to face Darth Vader as a way to, I don't know, to like clear it all up, maybe fake his own death again, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where they're going with it. So again, it's not going to introduce any new directions in the story, but it's going to fill in some of the struggle. He wasn't necessarily just sitting in the desert for 20-something years, He was actively drawing attention away to protect Luke. That's what I think. But I did like the Inquisitors as characters. I thought it was a little weird when they were first introduced. I'm like,
They look goofy.
Like, where did these people come from that have force powers, but they're not really like Sith? They're just like, they don't have any training. And so I didn't really understand where they came from or why they all of a sudden had
There's no rule of
lightsabers.
two. There's a whole bunch of them.
That's what the thing. They're not Sith.
Yeah.
So there can be more than two or whatever. But after I got over that, I liked the part they played in Rebels, being an antagonist that, like you cut one down and another one will come up. It's like they're not really that special. It's just somebody to chase the good guys.
Yeah.
And then in Jedi Fallen Order, they were a pretty big part of that. And I think that had a really good story. And it included fallen Jedi that became Inquisitors, and it included like Sith witches that stopped being Sith, and there's some cool stuff in that, and I'd like to see how they use that going forward. I don't know if they will or not.
Are the characters in the game, are they in the same timeline that they could appear in the show? To try to connect those things?
They are. No, that game is maybe. I'm trying to think exactly how that would line up. So Jedi Fallen Order starts with the main character being like a junker on a planet. So the Empire is in power, and his job with a bunch of other people is to take apart old Republic ships.
Does he not know who his parents are? And does he live on a planet where there's sand?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. No, his job is to he was an escaped Padawan after the Purge or after the whatever Order 66. And so he's hiding the fact that he has force powers, and he's just working for the Empire, dismantling old Republic things.
Okay.
And so I don't know exactly where it would line up time-wise with the Obi-Wan show, but it's in the same kind of realm, so it's possible. Anyway, I'm excited about it, but I'm not so excited about it that, and I think this is the case with all Star Wars stuff at this point. I'm looking forward to it, but not that much. Like just kind of bums me out to say that.
Has the bubble popped for you?
I don't know. I think as long as they continue to stay within the timeline that has already been written, it's mildly interesting.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I just would really enjoy seeing something totally forward, totally new. Give me a new thing to, I don't know. I don't want to just have like another Emperor or like another set of bad guys.
He's a different kind of bad.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm ready to move on. And I really enjoy the Mandalorian stuff, and I love,
Oh, someone asked
all of
us
that, but
when we were talking about Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, how did you feel about Luke showing up?
whoa. Did you hear that bird?
There was a huge crow. That was a very loud crow.
Crazy. There was a really loud crow outside.
Did it make your OG Star Wars heart happy?
No.
Seeing Luke again? No?
Not at all.
Okay.
It just doesn't do it for me. I mean, to be honest, even seeing R2-D2 in the last episode of The Mandalorian, a few people were like, "Was that so cool to see R2 on screen again?" I'm like, not really.
It made me happier to see R2 than it did to see Luke.
It was just like kind of. It felt so forced. I like fan I like fan service. I mean, I like the fact that they're trying to pull heartstrings of people who, have been with Star Wars for a long time. I get that and I appreciate it, but move on. Like, I don't know. It just feels like, what would make this acceptable is if we bring in something people have seen before. No, don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. Let it be a different thing. Like, just, I don't know. Like, I didn't hate it, but I did not get the emotional thing that everybody got from the last... Not everybody. A lot of people got from the last episode of The Mandalorian. Just, it was like, okay. I cared far more about Grogu and the Mandalorian and the fact that they were being separated. That was the emotional thing for me, not because Luke showed up. And so for this, in the Boba Fett stuff, when he showed up again, I'm like, oh man, they're trying this again? Like, come on. Like, just...
Get on with it.
Yeah.
I was impressed. Well, not impressed. So when I saw Luke at the end of in the Book of Boba Fett with Mandalorian, he looked like he should have looked.
Yeah, he definitely looked better, for sure.
In the story, like, I get it. They're building his little thing. Like, it was part of the story. It wasn't as, like, a gasp kind of moment. But I remember looking at him like, okay, they did a much better job of making him actually look like Luke. And they kept him in some shadows and, like, around other stuff, so they didn't have to do a whole bunch of different contours on his face. The guys from Corridor talked about it. But he looked a lot better.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what I took from that.
Yeah, and apparently they had hired, after the first one, they hired some deepfake artist.
Oh, yeah. There was a guy on the internet that was like, I did it better than Disney did, and they hired him.
Yeah, so I guess that's part of why it was better.
Good.
The second time? I don't know.
That's a smart move.
But, I mean, do you think they're going to keep doing that? Are they just going to keep reintroducing older characters with that technology?
I don't know. I mean, we could talk about the ethics, I guess, of introducing dead characters into a modern movie. But, I mean, I forgot what the movie was, but somebody cast James Dean in this movie. And they gave credit to James Dean in this movie when they deepfaked it. And I thought that was really dumb, that you can't give credit to a person who is not actually doing the thing.
Right.
And so with him credited in a movie, it asks a whole bunch of other questions. Like, does he now get SAG insurance? Like, does his estate then profit off of this thing? Does the person who is actually the body double for James Dean get any kind of credit for what he is doing? Like,
yeah.
So it was more complicated than anything.
That would be like an animated movie having, like, Frankenstein is the lead actor. No, he's the character. And in that movie, James Dean is the character more than the actor.
James Dean was playing somebody. So it wasn't like...
I know, but, like, he's a fictitious, he's a created thing that is on screen, just like Dracula would be or whatever. So, yeah, that's a strange thing. I mean, I assume that, somebody who's in control of an estate for a famous person seems kind of lame to, like, just profit on them after they're gone, but whatever. But
do you know that Shaq owns the estate of a whole bunch of people?
Really?
Yeah.
Like who?
Elvis Presley.
What?
Yeah, a bunch of people.
Dang, Shaq is rich.
Stupid TikTok. TikTok teaching me stuff. I get a lot of stuff randomly about Shaq. Things that Shaq does. I don't know why or how, but I find it fascinating.
He seems like a pretty good guy.
He goes to, like, department stores and is like, hey, kid, what are you doing? And he's like, I need some shoes. He's like, don't pick out them shoes, pick out better shoes. And he, like, buys a bunch of stuff for people. Yeah. Because he's like, my mom always told me to give stuff away. And so a lot of these videos are him, like, just being nice and paying for things. But a couple of them was about him as an investor. And there were a couple companies that he's like, man, I wish I would have invested in this thing when someone told me about it, but I didn't, and now I regret it. And someone was like, well, which one don't you regret? He was like, oh, I own the estate or the likenesses. I think it might be the likenesses of certain people. He says, some company approached me that says, do you want to own your likeness because someone can buy it? He was like, I absolutely do. He's like, so I bought my own likeness, and then whenever I earned some money from that, I decided to buy other people. So he owns the likeness of a whole bunch of, like, dead celebrities. Elvis was one that caught my attention. But the same thing is like when Michael Jackson bought the Beatles entire anthology. Like, you can buy the rights to a thing even though you may not have created the thing.
Yeah. Right.
And apparently you can buy the rights to the likeness or name of a person without actually being the person.
Does that person sell it?
I don't know.
Because I mean, like, I have, in agreements that we have with brands and stuff, like, likeness and usage of my name and face it's a consideration. It's a thing that people pay for. Mm-hmm. But I'm selling that. I'm giving them access to that for money. But if I weren't around, who's permitting that?
I'm going to get it. Tell you this right now. This is legally binding. But so if, like...
You can't just say that you want it.
Like a t-shirt, right? If we were going to put a picture of Elvis on a t-shirt.
Right.
Somebody would own the copyright to either that picture of Elvis or Elvis's likeness. And so if we were to profit off of the likeness or the art of someone else, that person theoretically should receive royalties to it.
Yeah.
But that person being dead, that
goes to
person's
the
heirs,
estate.
right? The estate, the trust, what his family, his or her family would then receive that. But I guess you can sell that like any commodity. And apparently, if we were to put a likeness of Elvis on a T-shirt, portion of that T-shirt money will go to Shaquille O'Neal of all random people. And so I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. It's maybe there's a resurgence of some popular old actor. Maybe it's the person who owns James Dean's likeness, and we're like, you know what? Get me an agent. And we're like, hi, I represent the likeness of a dead person. You should star them in this movie because we got computers that can do that.
I
And
guess
someone's
it's
like,
possible.
hey, that would create a lot of buzz for this movie if we cast a dead person because it's never been done before. So we're all gonna somehow profit.
Huh.
I could get where somebody would connect all of those
Yeah.
dots, and there would be yeses around a board table. But it still seems uncomfortable.
Well, so what's interesting is so James Dean he died in late 50s?
I think late
Early-
50s, in a car accident.
Yeah. Late 50s, early 60s, something like that. So, and he didn't have any kids, did he?
I don't know. He was very young.
I don't think he had any kids. Which means that the line of heirs or the generational, it could easily, theoretically, be 2 or 3 generations past.
Sure.
If and that was if he had kids. If he didn't have kids, then the people whoever it is owns his likeness are not only not direct heirs of him, they are even if they were within the family, it would be like his sister or his cousin or something, at the same kind of generational level as him. And then it's probably downstream from them.
Yeah.
If it's in the family. And if it's not in the family, that means they sold it to somebody else. So the personal attachment to who James Dean was and what he
Long
would have,
gone.
what he would have wanted,
gone.
how he would have been treated.
He's a baseball card at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of makes sense. Whereas it would be different if somebody were alive now or within the last 10 years and somebody tried to sell that likeness. There's still like a personal attachment to Taylor Hawkins. If somebody tried to make
Right.
a movie with Taylor Hawkins, people would throw a fit because he's a recent memory.
Yeah.
Means something personally to his existing family and, that kind of thing. So I guess I could kind of see it happening with that far back.
But I think if anybody, like, say Taylor Hawkins, right? Taylor Hawkins was the drummer of the Foo Fighters who recently passed away. They just had a movie come out. So he is an actor in that movie. I don't know if he's a producer in that movie. But all of the sales and all of the back end, whatever, of that movie goes to the producers, creators, actors, all of those people.
Yeah.
So theoretically, because that movie exists, because whether he has writing credit on any of the songs that he's produced, but royalties from him being famous go to an account somewhere.
Yeah.
So whether his family now owns that account and it continues to just accrue over royalties over the years, like, hooray, that's a commodity for someone.
Yeah.
But if someone falls on hard times, that's an asset. And so assets can be bought and sold just like anything else. And so if his family falls on hard times or just so distraught and they're like, yo, we can sell the Taylor Hawkins estate or the Elvis Presley likeness or the whatever to who? And there's this company in California who buys those as
wild.
assets. And so that's where the Shaquille O'Neal was approached by that company, and they just like accrue the assets of old dead actors for whatever reason.
And they're also probably making a profit by buying estates. I guess that's what they're buying, or likenesses, whatever.
I
They're
don't know.
buying that.
I mean,
and then
I think it's just the likeness. So
and then they sit
even
on
the
it until they can
royalties-
find somebody to sell it to. They profit off of that.
well, I mean,
Transfer.
if that person is pictured on anything, then they get a cut of that. So it may be completely separate from their estate or from the trust. It's just the likeness of that person.
Well, what I mean is that company, they're making money by buying likenesses and then reselling them to people with lots and lots of money, like Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
What a weird business.
If you die, can I have your likeness?
No.
Oh, okay.
My wife can have my likeness. And you can fight her for it. And she'll
Oh,
win.
man, she will win.
How long have we been rambling? 45 minutes. 50 minutes?
We need to do pros and cons again. We haven't done pros and
Oh,
cons
yeah.
in a minute. You remember we used to do those things
I
that
do
people
remember
enjoyed?
that.
You remember that?
I do remember that. Well, yeah, pull those up. I found a new flavor of Pop-Tart recently.
Really?
You're going to like it.
I am?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Apple strudel.
Isn't that what, that was one of their OG flavors that we
I
talked
don't
about,
think it
wasn't
was. No, well, there was an apple. Yeah, there was something like that. This
Yeah.
one is the apple goo on the inside with like the drizzle on the outside instead of the big like swiped pasted on thing. It's just a little swirly,
little smearing,
and it is very, very good.
I had one since we had talked about Pop-Tarts. I saw some at the grocery store, and I bought a couple for the kids. And I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised because Pop-Tarts are awesome. They devoured them.
Oh man, we go through so many Pop-Tarts in our house.
They had a cookies and cream one.
Yep.
And I tore a chunk off before my piranha children just destroyed it in my hand. It was pretty good. I tried the Eggo waffle one. It was not good.
Oh.
It was bright yellow with like a white base icing and then like a drizzle of yellow. And it looked like it should have been curry flavored. And I couldn't get that out of my head. It had like a mapley syrup, whatever center, but every time I would bite into it, it felt like it should taste like some type of curry.
Yeah, that sounds disgusting. I recently tried peach cobbler.
Like a Pop-Tart or in
Yeah,
general?
Pop-Tart.
Oh, okay.
No, a Pop-Tart. And I was
That sounds
disappointed.
great. Oh.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it didn't really taste like peach cobbler.
There is a peach cobbler restaurant in Louisville, apparently.
The whole restaurant?
Yeah, that's just like, do you want to go have Mexican? That place is like somebody's taco place or somebody's pizza place or somebody's burger place. That's somebody's peach cobbler place.
That sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
I would like to try that.
I want to go there for my birthday. What day is it? Can we go there for lunch tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
It'd be great.
Yeah. There's a little restaurant, not restaurant, there's a little grocery store in town called Priceless. Have you been to Priceless?
No, because I'm price full. They wouldn't let me in the door.
Ooh.
That's my last thing.
Yeah.
You get it?
Oh,
that right?
I got it. Anyway, so there's this little grocery store. When I was growing up, it was another grocery store that was like a local place. And then it became one of those just super cheap grocery store. Like,
The IGA?
yeah. Like, I think they might.
It is an IGA.
Is it owned by IGA?
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, so I never went in there because it just like, oh, it's that where they have like 100% off-brand everything. You don't want to get food from that place. But I was totally wrong. I'll eat that. My wife went there because it's near our school stuff. And so she like went in there one day to pick up something. And she was like, they have like organic fruit and all this stuff. And they have the biggest Pop-Tart selection in town.
Really?
Yes. Like stuff you can't find anywhere else. I don't know if they have like custom flavors or what. They have a lot. In fact, all of the kids were like, you have no idea how many different flavors of Pop-Tarts there are. They were really, really excited. So now we go there on a regular basis, and the kids pretty much always pick out a different flavor of Pop-Tart.
Interesting.
There are lots and lots of them. Have you found any yet?
No, I haven't. Because
We
it's
haven't
been
asked
so
in a
long.
while.
We haven't asked, so I'm going to have to go back into our archive here.
That's on us.
Well, that's fine. We can ask for some. If you have pros and cons,
Megan.
send them to us.
Megan's on the couch over there.
She's also on Discord now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dang.
Our Discord server is available to a lot of people in the Maker Alliance, which is a group of amazing people who support us here at I Like to Make Stuff. And they get a bunch of stuff as well. They get like discount codes on plans. They get to see videos early.
Yep.
They have Discord access and can hang out with Megan.
They're planning an event.
They are doing a summer camp. They are. We're not, but it's awesome, and we're going to be there. Anyway, they often send us pros and cons. So if you would like to jump on that community and be a part of that, it's awesome. You should definitely check it out. And it'd be a great way for you to send us pros and cons.
Where is this pros and cons
But
list?
it looks like
So-
we've lost it.
Megan, are you familiar with our format of pros and cons? Do you even know what in the world we're talking about? Has it been that long? So, pros and cons, we ask people for random topics. And then because we have a podcast and 2 microphones, get to say whether
Authority.
we are for or against that thing.
Okay.
Somebody deleted my pros and cons table in Airtable. So,
Ooh, someone deleted the pros and cons table in Airtable?
so I guess I'll just start a new one and we'll start a new submission.
fine.
Oh, in Airtable.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's talking about peach cobbler Pop-Tarts in the Discord server.
Whoop.
This is from December.
Oh,
Oh, okay, about a long time. There's a
frosted strawberry. What is that? Fruit Loops?
Yep.
Fruit Loop Pop-Tart.
Wow.
That's a good band name.
They make a Captain Crunch Pop-Tart.
I have a cat whose middle name was Pop-Tart.
A middle name? Your cat had a middle name.
Yeah, Sergeant Pop-Tart.
Oh, he was
Wow.
ranked.
Yeah.
There was prestige in that cat. Sergeant Pop-Tart. What was his last name? I said it had a middle name.
Tart?
My maiden name was.
Well, anyway, we'll get some for next time. Send us some pros and cons. It'll be fun.
Because we're doing it again,
Yeah,
everybody.
we'll do it
Because
again.
we're paying attention. Because Megan made us.
All right, you got anything else you want to talk through?
Oh, we talked about storm stuff, but I mean, long story short, we had some friends of ours that had their house hit by a tornado. So now my already anxious son is super terrified of all storms, and so we had another like crazy weather alerts and stuff yesterday. So I'm trying to teach my kids to take their fear and turn their fear into action and to be prepared rather than just like be scared and sit there and do nothing.
Do you think having been scared through another storm, but then it being okay and not having any damage, do you think that quenched any of that?
I would hope. I don't know. He slept through most of it.
Oh, well, I mean, that's
But it's a good thing.
That is good.
And I think that's whenever I go home, because he was still asleep whenever I left. That's what I'm going to talk to him about.
Yeah.
And it was really good. We had a conversation about like, okay, I get that you're scared. That's perfectly good. I am a little scared too. So I'm doing something about it.
Right.
I'm not just going to sit here and wallow in my fear and then be completely passive because, I mean, it's the weather. I'm going to be passive anyway. So if I can have some semblance of control over my own little sphere, that would make me feel better. So I said, what around the house do you think would be affected if there was a tornado? So I had him like going outside, picking up all the bikes and basketballs and all the crap that's outside. And I'm like, all right, that's a good step. I'm like, what about this? And he's like, okay, yeah, I can go do that. I'm like, all right, great. And so a little bit of action
Yeah.
to try to take a little personal ownership of the preparedness went a long way.
Cool.
That was it.
Well, good. Well, hopefully it will be a lesson, but not something that just continues to be upsetting, you know.
That would be wonderful.
We had, I don't know if we talked about this since the tornado came through town, but we had some friends in town, our friend and her two boys, and they were sleeping up in the boys were sleeping up with our boys in their room. So there's like 5 boys in this one room. And it had been a long day, and it was late, and the kids should have been in bed already, but they weren't. So I was like done, you know, just kind of like, all right, you guys need to
Boys, go to bed.
And so we finally get them all upstairs, and we're like, okay, lights off, flip the lights off, and I get the alert on my phone, like, tornado warning.
Tornado alert. Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. All right, everybody up. We're going to the basement. So we do the 6 of us, the 3 of them, 2 dogs, 3 cats in my office in one room.
Man.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And they were all tired, everybody. And the dogs were just like, why are there so many people in this one little space?
This is great.
Yeah. So, and, you know, it was like maybe 45 minutes of sitting down there or something. So it wasn't terrible. But at that point in the day, I was just like, man, I really want to go to bed.
But those bunk beds that we made are getting some mileage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
And they're still holding up.
We use the Murphy bed. Like, whenever there's a storm, we put my 2 younger kids on the Murphy bed.
Oh.
Because my other son, the room that we did the fake windows, like his bedroom's already in the basement. He's like the safest spot.
Right.
So we just move everybody else downstairs. So I like to make stuff projects or win in emergency situations.
There you go. Cool. Well, where can people find you on the internet?
At Josh_make_stuff.
You can find me and all of us at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff. These days, if you talk to us through those channels, you're probably talking to Megan. Probably. I still have a tendency to jump on and answer questions and stuff, but it's probably her. So yeah, go find us on the internet, and we will do our best to record again next week and keep the streak going. Because Megan she's like got her hand in the air. She will keep us on it. Anything else?
No. Pros and cons. Send us some pros and cons because those are fun.
They are fun. Yes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Buddy,
And break.